Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my channel for another Hot Toys 1/6 scale Spider-Man No Way Home figure unboxing and review. Today, we're taking a look at the deluxe version of Doc Ock. Now I got mine from Pop Collectibles at a discount. As always, do your own research, make sure you're comfortable before buying. I have popped the link to their website in the description below, as well as the coupon code Justin's Collection for 5% off if you do decide to order from them. While you're down there, why not hit that subscribe, bell notification icon, and join button, so you're notified as soon as a brand new Hot Toys review goes live on the channel. This guy is kind of up against it. The head sculpt is one thing. Why did they not choose this facial expression? I will never know, we'll get to that. And also, he already has some competition. The Toys Era Doc Ock is pretty darn fantastic. I am curious to see if this guy is better than, about the same as, or worse than that one. We'll do our comparisons. In the background, we have a Doctor Strange portal and a cityscape, couple of pumpkin bombs popping through, actually 3 in total, some electricity for Electro, and a little bit of sand down below. Unfortunately, the only villain not represented here is Lizard. There's not a tail or a scale in sight. We also have Spider-Man No Way Home and his name. On the side of the box, this part is rough and textured, whereas up top, this is all glossy. We do have a very blurry mid-action shot of Doc Ock, I think from Spider-Man 2, but I could totally be wrong on that. And his name just one more time. Around the back, we do have these textured sections with this very geometric web pattern over the top, and it's done in high gloss, so it does stand out against the matte textured finish. We also have a pop of lightning, which I like. Then we have this strip in the middle in green, a reference to Doc Ock's coat perhaps, with the warnings and legal information printed on it. Then a couple of scenes from the movie. Doc Ock and Toby, the Iron Spider suit from the bridge battle, and then just Doc Ock himself. This is way too cool to hide under a slipcover. This should have been on the back of the box, at least in my opinion. We have the cracked multiverse straight through the middle of a Spidey symbol that's also Doctor Strange's spell. And the colors with the vibrant yellow and the purples and the pinks, it just pops. Then we've got the little speckles of white that are supposed to be the villain silhouettes. I would have actually liked to have seen the silhouettes rather than just white blobs. I'm not complaining, it still looks good, it just would have been a nice touch. Then back around the front, not much to see here except for a whole mess of tentacles. We've got an open window showcasing Doc Ock inside. So that means that these are pretty much the deluxe accessories right on top of the clam tray. If you get the deluxe version, you get the nanotech tentacles. They didn't really do a ton in the film, they were just there so that Peter could control Doc Ock using the nanoparticles from the Iron Spider suit. So if you did want to go for the standard version, you are still getting normal tentacles anyway. First in-hand impressions, the body feels good, I like the look of the outfit, but the head sculpt, the word that comes to mind right now is goofy. Maybe it'll change when I pop the glasses on, maybe that's just wishful thinking. What we are going to do now though is get all of his accessories laid out in the lightbox, and take a closer look at everything he comes with. Starting off with the display base first. Interestingly enough, they didn't go with the diamond base. I'm glad they went for the hexagonal base this time. Just goes to show that even for a character like Doc Ock with multiple heavy-ass tentacles sticking out of his back, you don't need a massive footprint for a display base. A nice compact one will get the job done. Then up top, very green for the artwork, it says Doc Ock in high gloss on the textured background. And in the background, silhouetted image of Doc Ock. Plus up front a Spider-Man No Way Home logo. Then his name for the nameplate. Now we do have a multi-jointed flight pole arm and a spring-loaded waist clamp. That's okay. I would have preferred, seeing as though this display base is compatible with a crotch grabber, if they'd have included a crotch grabber as well. I'm a fan of giving people as many options as possible, especially when the display base is compatible with the crotch grabber. What is this, a couple of cents? Hot Toys, come on, throw this in, give us both options. Speaking of options, if you do get the deluxe version of Doc Ock, you will be getting 8 tentacles in total, 4 in each different style. These are just the classic Doc Ock tentacles. You get 2 of the more pointed pincers. They are articulated on multiple different joints, and they are painted super well. We have this metallic, almost silver/gunmetal as the base color. Then over the top of that, washes all the way down so they look filthy. a pop of yellow, which for some reason was missing from the Toy Zero version, and speckling of dirt and grime everywhere. These things look old, rusty, nasty, and damaged. Now, to plug them into Doc Ock, you do just have this straight peg, and I'll show you how that works a little bit later. My favorite detail is that there are these tiny little springs inside each of the linkages. So when you go ahead and bend the tentacles, those springs actually flex along with each individual piece. And speaking of each individual piece, they are all on ball joints. The other two versions of the tentacles are these with the much chonkier ends. These are the ones that go on the bottom to keep him nice and planted. Same thing goes for the nanotech tentacles. You get two with the more pointed pincers and two with the chonkier ones. Now, the only real difference with these, they still move the same, they're still made up of multiple different ball joints, and you have the springs inside the linkages, plus the dirt and grime on the surface, is that you have these red pieces. Now, they are a little bit prickly, do be careful not to get your fingers stuck in there, that would be a disaster. Then for the pincers, you got red here both for the pointed ones and for the chonky ones. Now you can open up the pincers themselves, there is that little red section that doesn't light up unfortunately, but you do get this spike included, so you can install that and have him trying to impale Iron Spidey. This is quite prickly, so do be careful not to impale yourself when you're trying to pose him with this. The glasses are a small accessory, but I'm glad they're here. The lenses are green, they're translucent. Now the arms do look quite chonky here. When we pop them on him, I don't think they're going to be an issue. Some people did say that these almost look like John Lennon glasses, and I see it. These are the glasses that he was wearing more or less in the film, so I think they get away with it. What I don't think they get away with is using these ancient hands. These, I'm 99.9% sure, are DX11 hands, and that is so cheeky, Hot Toys. We have some sculpted zigzags on the back of the hands, and this one, yeah, that's a card-holding hand from the Joker, but here you can use it to hold Doc Ock's glasses. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, that's just my gut feeling. They look very waxy and smooth, there isn't a lot of texture, but there is some wrinkling and some stitching sculpted in. You get this card/glasses holding hand, two open palm hands, two splayed out finger hands, and two closed fists. There is a little bit of speckling of paint on the surface. Not too much, it is subtle, but it's there. What we are going to do now, though, is get Doc Ock himself out here. Standing straight up and down in the light box, no crazy poses, or accessories, or anything like that. Unless, of course, you count the tentacles as accessories or his glasses. I just wanted to complete the look, so I popped everything on. This figure is kind of perplexing. Some things I really like, and other things, they are very, very questionable. The choices that Hot Toys have made, at least. The body itself, the proportions underneath the jacket, look good. He's very realistic and natural looking. Then the jacket does add a lot of bulk, which does tend to throw it off a little. You can work with it, there are wires in the jacket, it's also just pure material, so no worries about screen printing, sticking to itself, or creasing or damage or anything like that. So you can futz around with it, and I guess I just have to do a little bit more work and futz with it more to get it to look slightly better. The tentacles are more limited than I was expecting, especially compared to the Toy Zero one. You'll see what I mean when we do that comparison. Then the head sculpt. Now, I did say in the unboxing segment that it came across goofy, and I stick by that. It still does come across a little bit goofy. Technically speaking, it might be well done, just not as well done as some people were expecting, especially given that Hot Toys said they were going to do changes, and it turns out they never actually did. Standing here, does he look good? I think he does. Is this going to be a worthy replacement to the Toy Zero Doc Ock? Well, that's down to personal preference. Right now, for me, I have a feeling that in my display, the Toy Zero one is on the way out. Up close and personal, kicking things off with the controversial head sculpt. What the hell happened? Hot Toys, they're usually better than this. The prototype was mid. They said they were going to update it. We all saw that, and this is what we ended up with. They clearly didn't update the head sculpt. This is the same as the prototype. I don't think it's good enough. Technically speaking, okay, it's well painted, the wrinkles look good, there's skin texture, there are a couple of dimples on the surface, there's depth between the lips, the teeth, and then the inside of the mouth. You can see there's a cavity there. It's all well sculpted and painted, there's no denying that. I even like the way the hair looks, the little fringe coming over the top with the spiky bits and pieces, the strands, the flow to it. It's just not Alfred Molina to me. I can't see the likeness. Maybe from certain angles, from front on, it just falls apart very quickly. And when you remove the glasses, it looks so much worse. The eyes, they just ruin this entire head sculpt. So please, if you have this guy, pop the glasses on, do yourself a favor. It will make the head sculpt look better. The lenses are translucent enough that you get the suggestion of seeing his eyes without them ruining the entire sculpt like they're doing now. The glasses do just slot in along the sides of his hairline. You also have some wrinkles along his neck, and I have left the plastic on just to protect the neck from stains from this turtleneck. Whenever you have fabric that's dyed on a skin tone neck, usually you get stains, and I really don't want that, even though I will be replacing this head sculpt eventually. If you're wondering how to install the tentacles, it's pretty straightforward. I've already done 3 of them. It's just quite challenging to get in there. You can see my hand up the top of my knuckle is getting completely shredded. Because to plug them in, it does recommend you grab them towards the bottom and push them in. For the first 2, that's fine. But for the last 2, the bottom ones, you are rubbing your hand against this piece as you're trying to finagle this in there. There's a rubber gasket on the inside, so it's a very secure connection. It just takes a little bit of time to wedge this in there, and it will fight you along the way. Just persist, make sure you push it in all the way so it's nice and snug. I do like the way they look plugged in, it's just getting there that's the challenge. If, like me, you've been fighting with this last one, trying to push it in, and it just won't go, there's a little bit of a gap, don't worry, you can adjust the jacket, it's not glued or stitched in or anything, you can just pull it out over the peg, making it look a little bit less unsightly. Not a perfect solution, I would rather be able to plug this in all the way. Still, if you're fighting with it, it's an option. I do dig this, having the tatters and the frayed sections visible, as though the tentacles have literally burst through both jackets, bringing the brown one along with them. Then the green jacket has wires at the bottom for the vent, not along the top section though. Then the same thing for the brown jacket, wires along the bottom, but not for this area. Oh no, that head sculpt. Okay, let's just put your glasses back on, friend, because we don't want you scaring away any collectors. That looks a little bit better. Now, his outfit does consist of multiple layers. There is something funky going on with the proportions, and I don't know if it's the body or the outfit. I'm leaning towards the latter. The green jacket does have this herringbone pattern over the top, a real pocket that's been stitched shut. We also have some buttons on both sides. And then on the inside, it is lined and it's wired, this time along the length, and you already know it's wired at the bottom. The sleeves do have these straps that can get a little bit annoying. They do tend to sag down. You also have some padded shoulders that you can work with to bring forward or back. It's just down to personal preference. It's also asymmetrical. On this side, you have this flap, but not on the other. Underneath, we've got the brown jacket. It's not really a jacket, though. It's more of a vest. You can see his bare plastic arms. It's wide along the front, and you have a real working zipper. So somehow, if you were able to bring this round and do it up, maybe you could, because that zipper is real. You can move this piece up and down and you can slot this in. I don't recommend doing it. It's just something that you can try if you want. It's also lined in a lighter material to this pleather style stuff on the outside with this grain. There isn't any dirt and grime on the surface, it's just brown pleather. Underneath, we do have a grey turtleneck, but I could have sworn it was supposed to be black. I've done a little bit of research, and I came up with black turtleneck. If you have reference that shows it's grey, please let me know, post it down in the comments below. His gunmetal cumberbund is well sculpted. I would have liked to have seen a little bit of speckling on the surface, not wear and tear, not battle damage, just surface detail. This type of figure I like to call a diva, because it requires just infinite futzing. You've got wires in the jackets, there's so much material. You're going to be fighting with this thing for a while to get it to look good, so let's just move the jackets out of the way for now. The pants are very basic, they're just grey slacks. We've got some Velcro for the fly, you can just see the belt loops, but you can tuck this up underneath the cummerbund if you so choose. Some real pockets, some more pockets on his thighs. And also some more pockets on his shins. This dude's got a lot of pockets. Got some real black fabric socks underneath. Then the shoes do have a little bit of dirt and grime around the edge. Not a ton, just a touch to make them look believable as shoes as this dude's been stomping around. You have some leather grain texture on the surface. The toe cap has some stitching around the edge. Then on the underside, some fully sculpted tread. Now comes the point in the review that I have been absolutely dreading. I now need to switch these tentacles for the nanotech ones. These are the standard tentacles. This is what that looks like. Switching to the nanotech versions. Oh, it was just as awful as I thought it was going to be. Switching out these tentacles is a right pain in the ass. Take your time and just pick one set of tentacles. Don't go switching them out all the time. Not only will you be driven crazy, you'll also be wearing out the pegs that they slide into. There are some rubber gaskets, and pulling these in and out a bunch of times might cause damage to them over time. See the difference? No? Well, these are the normal ones. Switching back to the nanotech ones again. It's of course the red. You can see the difference, I know. The little red sections, they are quite spiky, and the instructions do warn you not to prick yourself and get your finger trapped in there as you're posing them. So maybe grab them on the sections where you don't have the red pieces. That way you're not in danger of trapping your finger and getting spiked. At the top of the tentacles, we do have the pincers. You do have red for the nanotech ones. And you also have that little red dot in the middle that unfortunately doesn't light up. If you're wondering if you can switch the actual pincer parts on the tentacles, you can. They're on ball joints, you pop the top section off, and switch them around, which is a darn sight easier than pulling off the tentacles and flipping them top and bottom. If you do want the sharper pincers at the bottom, just switch them on the ball joints rather than taking the entire arm out. Trust me, you'll thank me later. For a quick side-by-side comparison, on the left, Hot Toys Doc Ock, and on the right, the Toys Era version, also known as the Ock. Well, he's not the Ock for me anymore, that has to go to Hot Toys. Maybe you still prefer Toys Era, and that's fine. We all have personal preferences at the end of the day. I just happen to like the Hot Toys one better. He's taller, the tentacles are more accurate, you have the interchangeable tentacles, you don't have to spend anywhere near as much time futzing with the jacket, and the proportions, they just look more realistic compared to Toys Era where he is a right mess. I did try. I promise, I spent at least 10 minutes futzing his coats and still they look terrible. There is just so much extra material, they're super baggy, they're hard to work with, and the wires aren't fantastic either. Now, I do have a custom turtleneck on my Toys Era Doc Ock, so without it, he would look significantly worse, and his neck does look super long without the turtleneck. As for the head sculpt, that's also down to personal preference. While I don't love the Hot Toys sculpt, I do still prefer it over the Toys Era one. That's just me though. I also wanted to compare the tentacles, the Toys Era ones versus Hot Toys. These are more accurate. There's more detail. You've got the little metal slinkies in between the linkages, which just weren't present on Toys Era. You also have the yellow paint applications, so the paint applications are better too. Even though these aren't quite as shiny as the third-party ones, they're metallic enough, and there is so much more surface detail. We've got the washes in the crevices, we've got the speckling of dirt and grime, and we've even got the paint chipping so it looks like the yellow has been scuffed away as these have been bursting through buildings. Then on the pincers, some airbrush shading, and the pincers themselves are nice and chonky, like I said, more accurate. Then in the middle, the red section is actually translucent plastic. The only area where I'd give the win to Toys Era is in terms of flexibility. These tentacles are so much more bendy. There's just more give here, and I don't know why. You can even wrap these around a Spidey figure, whereas the Hot Toys ones, this is where they lock out. They cannot bend any further. I was expecting them to be more flexible. Still, it doesn't really matter. I think you should be able to pull off most poses. Good to know though, if you have something in mind and you need this level of flexibility from the Toys Era one, for instance, then maybe that's the one you go with. If you don't care about extra flexibility, you want better paint applications, detail, and accuracy, then I'd give the win to Hot Toys. Back to proper comparisons, Hot Toys Doc Ock still on the left, and now we have the Thunder Toys Raimi Spidey, Tobey Maguire. We're still waiting for the Hot Toys friendly neighborhood Spidey at the time of filming this video. When we eventually get him, of course, we will redo this comparison. These two look freaking fantastic together. The Hot Toys Doc Ock with its really accurate proportions and accurate tentacles, even though the head sculpt isn't perfect, I still think works next to this Spidey, especially at a distance. These two, they complement each other really well. A lot of people are skipping this integrated suit Spidey for some reason, and I get it, it's not the traditional look for Spidey, it's still dope though. I mean, compared to Doc Ock, these two scale well. Peter 1, Tom Holland, is shorter than the other two Peters, so scaling works for me. And seeing as though this is the suit that Doc Ock technically made by giving Peter back the nanoparticles, having these two standing together on the shelf, I don't mind if I do. Then again, Iron Spidey with his Waldos or arms or tentacles, whatever the hell you want to call them, sticking out of his back. I love that scene from the movie where Doc Ock looked at the tentacle and he was like, boys, we have competition. Now that I have these two standing together, both with their tentacles out, now I'm reconsidering my display options. Currently I have this Iron Spider in the Infinity War shelf. I could totally move him to the No Way Home display. Let me know what you think. Do you think Doc Ock works better with integrated suit Spidey? Or this guy? I'm getting pretty worried for old Gobby. Right now, the Toy Zero Green Goblin is good. When the Hot Toys one comes out, and if it is significantly better than this guy, like this Doc Ock is compared to the Toy Zero Doc Ock, I don't think this Toy Zero Green Goblin is long for the cabinet. He's going to be retired very quickly if that's the case, but we will have to wait and see. He is shorter than this version of Doc Ock, and for me that works. If it doesn't work for you, that's fine. Now you've seen it, now you know. Going over articulation, if the tentacles get in our way, I apologize, they're just really large and cumbersome to work with. Starting off with Doc Ock's head sculpt, it's on a fixed neck with a ball joint at the bottom. Looking forward to there, looking back to there, swivel and pivot side to side. His regular people arms will go up to there. They will go forward and back on soft ratchets, and you do have multiple layers to contend with, so it's a little bit more restricted. You also have a butterfly joint at the shoulder that hinges up and down. Swivel at the bicep, double bend at the elbow going past 90. Then for his wrist peg, it's a hinge and swivel. The tentacles, they are pegged in at the bottom, just into the body, and they are on a swivel there. It's quite tight. All the way along, you've got a series of ball joints. You do have to be careful of the springs that are inside the little connections. Other than that, you can go crazy. These things are really well articulated. And for the claws, top and bottom, they work in the same way. You've got a joint at the base, then another joint at the midsection, and lastly one at the top. For his torso, there is a joint underneath his mechanical cumberbund, so he crunches forward and back just a touch. You also get swivel at the waist and pivot side to side. Legs will go forward to there. There is a little bit of padding. It ends right around here, so not too much. Going out to there, swivel at the upper thigh, double ratcheted bend at the knee, going past 90. And then for the ankles, the boots, or the shoes, are relatively low cut, and they're on double ball pegs. Going forward and back, a crazy amount of range, great for having him just dangling there, I suppose, on his tentacles. You also get swivel and ankle tilt. Moving on to the 3 cool and 3 annoying things. The first annoying thing, the tentacles. I like them, they've got a lot of articulation in theory. In practice, while they do move well, they just don't move in the way that I was hoping they would. I want to bring them around the front like this. I can't. The ball joints lock out and they can't go any further forward. If you want to go back, you want to go up, left and right, fine. They just can't curve in as much as I was expecting. Oh, it's worth noting that goes for the traditional tentacles. The nanotech versions, they can curve in significantly more. The second annoying thing is switching out the tentacles is very, very challenging. Pegging them in is one thing, switching them out, you have to pull these things out, the ball joints are moving around, they're doing their own thing, and they're twisting and turning at the same time and bumping into the other tentacles. I think they could have done this a little bit better. The straight pegs in rubber gaskets, that was a recipe for disaster. The third annoying thing is, what happened with the head sculpt? Hot Toys are usually top tier when it comes to sculpts, and when we saw the prototype and people were like, ooh, that ain't it, JC Hong was like, nah fam, don't worry, I got you, we're updating the head sculpt. I don't think they did. This looks the same as the original prototype. It's well done technically, like we discussed earlier, just doesn't work for me as Doc Ock. He looks far too goofy. The glasses do help. When you take them off, he looks significantly worse. The first cool thing is these little teeny tiny slinkies in between the connections on the tentacles. This is something that the third-party version just doesn't have. Not to mention these tentacles with yellow paint applications, they're just far more accurate than those ones are. The second cool thing is you only really have one layer to contend with when it comes to posing, and that's the outer jacket. The brown jacket is actually just a vest, and the same thing for the sweater. You can see the bare arms. That means his arms don't look overly bulky, and that's going to be better for articulation. The third cool thing is the spike is compatible with both styles of tentacles, either the standard ones or the nanotech ones. You can just plug it right in. Wrapping up on Hot Toys Doc Ock. When Hot Toys make a character like this, a legacy character that people have wanted since all the way back in Spider-Man 2, the Raimi film, and they kinda shit the bed on the head sculpt, it's not a great look, especially considering JC Hong, the head painter from Hot Toys, said that they were going to revise the head sculpt, and this is the revised one. You didn't revise it enough, at least I don't think you did. Technically speaking, yes, it's a good head sculpt, it's well painted, the details are crisp, I like the hair and the way the glasses slot into the side of the head sculpt without leaving massive gaping holes there. All of that is good. It's just not a good Doc Ock head sculpt. I don't see Alfred Molina as much as I was hoping I would. It's passable, it's fine, and that's not why we collect Hot Toys, not just for fine. So for me, I'm going to be ditching this head sculpt. I'm getting a custom V-Dot Collectibles one, and I will do a future Build-A-Figure episode on that head sculpt. Right now, do I recommend him as is? I still do. I just think he could look better with a custom head sculpt from V-Dot Collectibles or someone else, entirely up to you. The proportions on the body here are superior to the Toys Era figure, and the outfit is superior as well. Plus, if you get the deluxe version, you get a whole separate set of tentacles with the red nanotech details, so that's a nice touch. At the end of this, I am satisfied. This guy is going to replace my Toys Era Doc Ock, and when I get the new head sculpt, I have a feeling he's going to be even better. Now, I got mine from Pop Collectibles at a discount. As always, do your own research, make sure you're comfortable before buying. I have popped the link to their website in the description below, as well as the coupon code Justin's Collection for 5% off if you do decide to order from them. While you're down there, why not hit that subscribe, bell notification icon, and join button, if you like the sound of seeing your name in the end credits of my reviews. Like, comment, and subscribe. We'll catch you in the next video.